Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to another Sunday Live. And as usual, before we kind of get into it, I just want to check and make sure we are live on my channel. And so we are live. And as you guys can see, I have a guest joining me tonight out of the state of California. He is a realtor in that market. So I'll have him introduce himself and then we'll jump into what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Mike Patel. I'm in Anaheim Hills, Orange County, California. I'm glad to be here as a guest for Mr. Clark, the realtor, and we have some great information for you today.
Yes. David said good evening to us both, and he said, "Hey, Mike."
Hey, David, how are you? Good seeing you.
And so, as everybody knows, as the housing market has kind of slowed down a little bit in some areas and might have picked up in some other areas, we're trying to see what the experts have predicted that 2026 might forecast as far as the ongoing housing market. So before we jump into it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, hit that notification bell, and share. And if you're new to the channel, don't be scared to jump in during these live chats. This is the purpose of going live, to have these discussions and have conversation to see what you guys are feeling, what is your sentiment around the housing market, and if you are looking to possibly buy or sell in the future. We just want to get some insights to see how you're feeling about the way the housing market is currently trending, whether up or down in your area. So I guess before we jump into it, I'll ask Mike, because he is in California, how is the California market looking currently in regards to real estate out in your area?
Well, it's obviously December, so it's slower compared to the last 2 or 3 weeks. In general, December, seasonal slowdown, but overall, the last quarter has slowed down a little bit. Inventory is up. It's taking longer to sell homes. It used to take 45, 50, 60 days to sell. Now it's taking, a couple of months to sell, maybe even more. So as the sellers have to price it right, because the buyers are very knowledgeable today. They have all the data, so they won't pay with a higher price. In fact, just like nationwide, a lot of homes are being delisted. Same thing in California. A lot of homes are being delisted, and usually it's because pricing is very high. So like other areas, our inventory has gone up, but overall the market is not bad as other states. Most of the Sun Belts are slower, but Southern California is still strong in the sense there is activity going. There are buyers. So it's not as bad as other states like California, like Arizona or Florida or Tennessee, but we are seeing some, it's still active.
Okay. And are you seeing, like, so down in the Sunbelt area where I'm at in Georgia, we're seeing, of course, houses, like you said, being delisted, wanting to relist possibly next year, but we're also seeing a little bit of reductions in prices. So I'm not sure, are you guys seeing that in California? Are you seeing like the houses that are still lingering on the market? Are you seeing them kind of reducing the prices or no?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is the homes that come on the market, and if they're priced right to begin with on the get-go, you know how it is, sellers want the highest price and oh yeah, my neighbor sold for $1 million, but I have green carpets, I want 1.1, so the homes that are overpriced are reducing the prices, and once they reduce the prices, they are selling. But the homes that come on the market that are priced right, they're staged, they're presented well, they are selling within 30 to 45 days. But then there's others that take longer. So yes, there are price reductions, but those are sellers asking for too much.
Okay, that makes sense, because that's what's going on kind of down here too. So from this conversation, we'll jump into Housing Wire in regards to what they're predicting for 2026 with the housing market. I'm not sure if people can see this or not. Can you see it on your end, the article? I kind of blew it up so
I can see it, Dave. Okay. Yeah, I can.
Okay, perfect. And so what the Housing Wire is saying, 3 forces shaping the housing market in 2026. Affordability, life events, inventory shifts will influence the 2026 housing market slow recovery. So that is something that I'm hearing from millennials or maybe even Gen Z, is the affordability level. Okay, David said he can see it. Good, thank you, David. The affordability, a lot of people that I've talked to within the last year, the months, or even in 2024, all were talking about affordability. So In California, your affordability is different from the Sun Belt. So, what do
Yeah.
you guys kind of label as affordability? Like, what's the price range that you feel is comfortable for your buyers out there for affordability?
Well, where I'm at in Orange County, our medium price homes for single family homes is about 1.2.
Okay, wow,
Condos are around 700, $800,000. Two bedrooms, two bath. Newer condos are going for 700,000.
wow,
So yeah, our medium price range is pretty high.
okay,
Um, on a newer home, I was talking to one of the realtors in our area. They said that anybody who buys a house these days in Orange County in the million to million 1.5, their
hmm,
mortgage payment is about $5,000 on average.
wow.
Yeah, which is normal, 5 grand. So they
Okay,
got to be making $15,000 a month to afford the 5,000 mortgage, right? If you
yeah,
look at a 1/3 ratio. So yeah, the affordability is pretty expensive here.
hmm,
But what's happening is the people who sell, like let's say if I sell my house, I've been here 30 years, I have a lot of equity. So if I
hmm,
sell my house, I can take that down payment, a big chunk, and I'll be able to buy something and keep my mortgage low.
yeah,
So there's a lot of people selling, maybe selling bigger homes, moving to smaller homes, selling smaller homes, moving to bigger homes because the family is growing.
hmm,
At the same time, there are a lot of people here in Southern California are making good money. A
okay,
lot of tech people here, a lot of business owners here. Orange County is kind of like a rich county.
okay,
Um, so there are a lot of people making money. There are a lot of people who have stocks and sell stocks and make money. So there is activity out here. I mean,
okay,
it is expensive, but homes are selling.
hmm,
I just sold a house, 3 homes on a lot to a nonprofit organization.
okay,
And I've known that organization for years. I've volunteered for them. And this is the second property I sold it to them.
okay,
The listing price was 1.95 million.
okay.
When I wrote the offer, there were 2 offers on it.
Oh, wow.
Right. And we were lucky to get it for we closed escrow last week. It closed at 1.875, all
Okay,
cash.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it,
okay,
it was a 45-day escrow. It's been used as a nonprofit for senior shelter.
okay,
So even on that property, there were multiple offers.
wow. So
So
you guys are still seeing a lot of activity then.
I
Wow.
think so. I mean, anything over 2 million is slowing down a little bit. 2 to 4
Okay.
million is slowing down. And then anything over 5 is picking up also. So,
Okay. Wow.
yeah.
And David said, I don't think California has been affordable for 30 years.
There's a lot of activity there. A lot of people buying, and like in Orange County, if you don't make 100 grand, you're eating bread and butter. That's what I say.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
wow, that's crazy. All right, so let's jump into this article. It says for the past several years, the housing market has been defined more by what didn't happen than what did happen. Of course, people were speculating how the rates would move and how the inventory would shift, whether up or down. Homeowners didn't move, which we know in some cases. I'm not sure about California, but I know in Georgia, people they wanted to move, but if they bought, let's say, that high peak time of 2022, 2023, maybe 2024, they can't really move around the way they want to because they're kind of stuck in regards to depending on they bought too high
Mhm.
and the interest rates haven't really come down for them to be able to refinance accordingly. So some people that want to move, they're kind of stuck.
Hmm.
And then, of course, if you bought in 2020, 2021 with those lower interest rates, you don't want to give that up to go to a 6 interest rate.
Yeah, that's happening here as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what will happen next year. It says inventory didn't rebuild, affordability didn't materially improve. Ultra low pandemic era mortgage rates, which we just talked about, created a lock-in dynamic unlike any in modern housing history, freezing mobility and pushing existing home sales towards decade lows. And it says as 2026 approaches, the housing market is not on the cusp of a dramatic turning point. Instead, several trends visible in 2025 appear likely to continue shaping conditions. The coming year is more likely to extend a slow thaw than deliver a breakout. And it says
Hmm.
three forces in particular will matter most: uneven affordability, improvement, life event driven housing demand, and a gradual increase in inventory as the grip of the rate lock effect loosens at the margins. So, what do you think about that? That's the first, I guess, kind of dive into because we already kind of talked about unaffordability. What about like life event driving housing demand? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, what they say, I mean, there's the 7 Ds, but I know we're talking about death and divorce, displacement or relocation. So a lot of life events happen, and that's what causes home prices, people to buy or move,
Mm,
job promotion, job loss, death in the family. California has 62% divorce rate or more. So, they get divorced or, and also I think one of the things that's happening, I know that's happening in Southern California, but I think it's happening nationwide. Is a lot of the boomers, a lot of the elder generation, are passing on, right? So and the reason I can tell is in the multiple listing service, we are seeing a lot of probate sales,
mm,
which means the owner died and the kids are getting it, and sometimes the court is involved, probate is involved. Some of them have living trust, so we are seeing titles where the seller is a living trust.
mm,
A lot of the second generation, the Gen X or whatever, are selling because
mm.
a lot of people are passing away, and I think this is a nationwide movement.
Yeah.
In fact, I just did a video where there's a lot of homes coming on the market in the next 10 years,
Mm,
but the boomers are passing on,
mm,
and the kids don't want the homes anymore because
yeah.
the kid may be in California and the house may be in Texas, and they don't want it, so they're putting up for sale. So when you talk about life events, a lot of things are happening,
Mm,
and that's what gets the house, not only home sales, but
mm,
the home rental market keep going, because people have to move, people have to
yeah.
downsize or have kids, so they have to buy a bigger house,
Yeah.
job relocation, a lot of things happening that keeps us going, and we need that for the housing activity.
Yeah, and that's even like with my mom. She had a house in New Jersey, and at the time I was in college, and she decided to move. And she before she didn't pass, of course, thank God. But she decided to move, and but prior to her moving, she asked all the kids that we want to take on the home, and we were just like, no, we're all
Yeah.
over the place, right? We're not near. So I know some people say that the house might stay longer in the family, but there are some situations where people are like, I don't want, like you said, I don't want to move over here. I'm not over here right now, or I own property over here and I don't want to shift over here. So then you do have people putting those homes up for sale, which my mom did. And she did
Okay.
it twice. She did it in Jersey, then she relocated to Georgia, and then she did it again in Georgia and asked us again, did we want it? And we didn't. So it also
Right.
is happening with people who outside of just passing away, like you said, that are alive and their kids was like, I live in a whole nother state. I don't want I don't want to take on a house in another state.
Yeah, it's a pressure, right? You have to house management, rental management, and some of the people, I've actually sold a house where the kids sold the house, uh,
Mm,
and then what they did was they bought a commercial property.
mm,
So they sold the house, took all the money. I think that house we sold a couple of years ago. It was the kids got the house. We sold it, was like 1.1. It was
mm.
free and clear. So after whatever the taxes, well, I don't know what was involved. I sold them an eightplex.
Oh wow.
So they
Okay.
put the $1 million, right, and bought a eightplex. So now they got a $4 million property versus $1 million property.
Mm,
There's reasons for them to sell. I mean, so
yeah. Wow.
sometimes, there's dispute between the. I've also sold a house where there's a dispute between the siblings. So they
Mm,
sold the house and split the money.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you never know. Different, like you said, different events, different life situation. David said, "Wow." I think he was saying "wow" to what you were talking about earlier in regards to the cost. And then he
Yeah.
said, "We did on David's live. He was looking at Aspen, Colorado, and those prices were extremely crazy. It was like a $42 million houses, which
Really, 42 million. Wow.
yeah, in
Yeah.
Aspen, Colorado, I believe it was like 42 million. It was pretty wild. And then this is my dad. Hello, Dad. How you doing?
Oh,
Uh, and so, if you guys are just joining, we have Mike Patel here from California, and he is a realtor out in the California area,
mhm.
particularly in the you say Anaheim Hills, right area, in
Right.
Orange
Right where
County.
Disneyland is. 10 miles, 10 minutes from Disneyland.
Okay, so
Anaheim. Yeah.
if you guys are looking to shift over that way, reach out to Mike. He does real estate over there, and he is a great agent. So,
Thank you. Yeah.
what do you feel about the next one where they talked about like a gradual rise in inventory, um, for next year?
Yeah, we're hearing that a lot. In fact, in the history, in the last 20 years, we've seen a sharp rise in delisted listings. In fact, if you see the news, it's all over the place. For the first time, we're seeing so many deal listings. There's several reasons for it. One is that a lot of the sellers still think the market's going up and up and up, right? So
Mhm.
their price, like I said, in California, where I'm at, if my neighbor sells for $1 million, I want a 1.1 automatic, right?
Yep.
So that's not happening. They still hooking on, or they still sticking to the price. On the other hand, what has happened in the last year is the rates were at 6.7, 6.8. So a lot of the buyers nationwide could not buy because the home prices keep going up. They have gone up this year. They're going anywhere from 2 to 4% this year from last year. So the prices are going up. Interest rate have come down. But what has happened, at least in Southern California and a lot of the states that I talked to other realtors, what has really happened this year, the unaffordability has been very difficult because, as you know, when the buyers talk to a lender, they're going to ask them, hey, how much is your income? How much is your expense, your car payments, your credit cards? Then when they say, okay, you're going to buy a house for $400,000 in Texas, the property tax is 2%, for example, right?
Mhm.
It used to be a lower property tax. Now it has gone up.
Mhm.
Then they look at the insurance, fire insurance, right?
Yep.
And the insurance has gone up. For example, in Florida, it has skyrocketed, right?
Mhm.
So now those two factors throw them off,
Yep.
which did not throw them off 2 years ago. Now those property tax and insurance is throwing them off. So what's happening is a lot of the buyers cannot afford to buy the homes.
Mhm.
Sellers are asking for higher price. Buyers can only afford a lower price because of the property tax and insurance. And that's why we're seeing the increase in inventory, because sellers want the higher price, and the lenders are telling buyers, oh, you want a 400, you can only afford a 350 because of the property tax and insurance and
Yeah.
HOA, which have gone up, is
Yeah.
knocking you out. So we're seeing both things happening.
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of like we're seeing in Georgia as well. We're working with buyers and just going into that, like you said, that whole unaffordability level where they can't really afford when they start breaking everything down. But then also you go into the homes that say if they can only afford 350, you go into some of these homes and then the buyer's like, well, this is not updated. This is not,
Mhm.
this is not this. And they're like, I don't want to buy a home with no, updates
Yeah.
or no renovations or things the matter with it, like, water damage or something the matter with the roof not fixed in X, Y, and Z. They're like, I don't want to pay $350 for a house that needs, I'm gonna have to actually put extra work into once I move into it, even though this is where I technically can afford.
Right. Yeah. And buyers are very smart today. They're very well educated
Mhm.
in terms of buying a house, what they want. Because I think the buyers that I'm working with, what they're saying, look, I'll pay the price. I'll pay the
Mhm.
650 for the condo or 700 from the condo, but it better be good. It better have a good location. It better have an attached garage. It better have washer dryer in there. It better be in moving condition. Then
Exactly.
they don't mind paying. But the last thing buyers want to do today, a lot of the buyers, assuming they're married, they both work. They want to
Mhm.
move into the house Sunday night, go to work on Monday. The last thing they want to do is come and paint the house or do that, unless it's a fixer and they get a better price. But if they're going to pay a full price, they want to move in and go to work the next day.
Exactly.
They got mortgage payment, so.
Exactly. They got so and the last part of this was in regards to like the sellers, I guess, coming to grip of like the rate lock, and hopefully it loosens if they were to possibly see any type of adjustments in the mortgage rates next year. Like we kind of talked a little bit earlier in regards to people being in those low interest rates. Have you seen anybody in your area that might have had a lower interest rate that's like, let me sell now or something?
Yeah, actually, I have seen that. What's happening, and I read a report just 2 weeks ago. What's happening is once the rate came down, I think 6.2, and now they back up to 6.3.
Mm-hmm.
The report says that a lot of these sellers, like I have 3%, I'm not going anywhere, right? I've been here, I refinance. But a lot of the sellers who have been hanging on to 3%, 2.5%, and they wanted to move, now are loosening up because their prices have gone up. So they say, you know what? My house was 400 4 years ago or 3 years ago when I bought it. Now it's what, maybe 550 or 600. Rates was 7%, almost 8%. Now they come down to 6.2%. So the report is saying that a lot of these golden handcuff sellers are easing up on letting go of the 3%, and they will move into the 6.2, 6%. Hopefully we'll get to 5.75%. Who knows?
Yeah.
Trump administration is pushing Jerome Powell for the last year to drop the federal rates and the mortgage rate to 3%. It seems like there's somebody in line to replace Powell in May when his term expires.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
If the rates drop under 6% to 5.5%, we're going to see a big uptick in home purchases. And a lot of these sellers who have 3% will jump to 5.5%. But who knows what's going to happen? That's politics, but we don't want to go there. But it's something to be aware of because, it's Trump administration want to do what they want to do. They'll do what they want to do.
Yep.
But let's see what happens. That's a speculation. But to answer your question, the reports are saying that a lot of the sellers are loosening up and now going to buy and sell. So that's another reason we have seen more inventory.
Yeah, for next year. So it says affordability, of course, improving at the edges, but uneven across the map. So this is basically talking about in regards to where they're seeing affordability at. According to the First American Real House Price Index, which adjusts prices from income and interest rates changes, housing affordability has posted its longest stretch of annual improvement since late 2019 and early 2020. It says the wage gains outpaced home price appreciation in 2025, and the mortgage rates eased off their peaks, helping repair some of the damage, but the progress has been far from uniformed. And I'll skip down here. And it says affordability in 2026 is likely to remain a patchwork, improving where supply is loosening and remaining stubborn where the market has yet to recalibrate. And so right here, they're talking about like the slow growth price, more affordability gains, and they're basically showing how the inventory is growing in these certain areas. So the green dots is some of the areas in which you're seeing, I guess, more inventory kind of growing in these areas. And we're right here, Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And then they're also indicating where it's kind of, I guess, starting to cool off down here, where the inventory grew, but now it's kind of slowly cooling off.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And so I guess in regards to, which we kind of talked about already, in regards to affordability and loosening for next year, do you feel, well, one, I guess, because of course we don't know where we're going to go. As far as rates, do you feel like rates will stay flat, or do you feel like they might have an uptick up or down? I know with the recent Fed cuts, and we know that the Fed's, it's tandem. It's not, doesn't mean that it always follows each other, because the 10-year Treasury versus the Fed's, which is short. But do you feel like if there was relief next year with that rate, that it could possibly go hand in hand with of course, not like we already said, as far as more people coming out to possibly sell and buy, but do you feel like it would then raise the prices of the homes too, because everybody's rushing to just kind of buy with a lower interest rate? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them saw the NAR report, the National Association of Realtor report, came out 2 weeks ago. What they're saying is there's going to be 14% more home sales next year compared to 2025, which is good news. They're also saying not only NAR, but if you look at the I get the Keeping Current Matters, and they did a research of, if you look at the MBA and Fannie Mae and Wells Fargo, a lot of banks and a lot of institutions are saying that home prices are going to go up next year anywhere from 2 to 5%, depending on where you are. So everybody's saying that the prices are going to go up next year. NAR is saying that the number of home sales are up 14%. And one of the reasons is because the rates have dropped and more people can afford the homes. That's what the speculation is out there, that prices are going to go up, but at the same time, number of home sales are going to go by 14%. I personally think that's too high, jumping from 4.8 to 5.5. But any increase is good. I'll take anything. So I think as realtors, we've had a challenging for next year. What's happening in our office and what's happening in our multiple listing service. If you look at the applications for lenders, they've jumped 20-30%. So we're seeing a lot of activity for next year. So next year looks a lot better than 2025, according to all these reports that we, that's why we do these live, so that we know what's going on. And, we talk about it with you and other agents and other brokers, other realtors. We're in touch. So yeah, it's going to be a better year next year. But as far as the buyers goes, the prices are going to go up, but the rates may stay down.
So
And that's what the reports are saying, not me saying it.
yeah. No,
You know.
and we're gonna pull up one of the other articles from Norada. If anyone joining us right now, if you have any, anything that you wanted to kind of talk about, mention, or what you're seeing outside of the reports that we're kind of talking about, let us know. Chime in the conversation. Again, that's why we're here live, to have conversations with you guys and be able to talk real estate in the housing market. So I'll go right here. So Norada Real Estate Investments, they're basically the forecast for 2026. Will prices rise or fall next year? And it's stating right here, 3% growth in medium home prices or moderate increase driven by demand and limited supply. What Mike was kind of talking about earlier, rebound in home sales. Existing home sales are projected to rise by 6%, while the new home sales could jump 10% compared to 2024. And then they said possibly easing mortgage rates. Rates are anticipated to drop to around 6.4% by the end of 2025, making borrowing more affordable. And then they're talking, of course, about job growth, continued job growth, and estimate 1.6 million new jobs in 2025 will bolster housing demand. So the job growth one, I'm not sure about, because I think the report came out and we actually lost jobs. So I don't know if this will sustain in regards to jobs, as we do know, some people have been laid off, and the numbers were actually really not where they wanted it to be. And then also, I know with the shutdown, the government shutdown, some of the data didn't really pour out accordingly in like the last month or so. So so I'm not sure as far as the job growth. And then it says less distressed sales with serious mortgage delinquencies remaining minimum, and there's little risk of a foreclosure surge. So I guess we'll start right here with the modest price growth continues. If the factors supporting 2025's 3% price growth, easing mortgage rates, steadily demand, and limited supply persist into 2026, home prices could see a similar or slightly higher increase. Should mortgage rates dip further below 6.4%, demand might surge, pushing prices up 4% or more. However, if rates stabilize or rise slightly, growth could slow to a 2 to 3%, reflecting a more balanced market. So that's what you were kind of stating earlier, Mike, as far as having that, if it's 2 to 3% as far as what it could possibly see as far as appreciation next year around.
That's what they're saying. Yeah. I mean, and they're saying the growth is 26, 27, 28, 29 for the next 4 years. They see a growth. Of course, it's an average. I mean, the Sun Belt is lower, but the Northern East is higher. So if you look at the average, some are down, some are higher, but the average is 2 to 4%.
Yeah, and like down in Georgia, of course. So there's a lot of stuff moving down here in this Georgia area, and it's unlike other parts of the country. We kind of are almost similar to like how Texas is moving, how Florida is moving, because we do have a large investors in the metropolitan area of Atlanta. We have a lot of corporate investors, institutional investors, hedge fund investors. So what's happening down here, I feel like our prices are going to see a slight decline, to be honest, just because we're having a lot of these investors silently kind of placing their houses, liquidating their properties and placing them on the market for sale. And what it's ultimately doing right now is that it's actually stripping equity from homeowners, because they might have bought it, let's say 3 years ago for $300,000, and now because they want to get it off their books, they're liquidating it now for like $250. So $300,000 now $250, and if a homeowner just bought recently for like say $315 because of some appreciation, now they're basically down $65,000 as they slowly but surely start to liquidate and reorganize their portfolio. So I'm like in the metro Atlanta area. Of course, I can't predict what's going to happen in the future because I don't know. But from what I'm seeing, I'm noticing that, and then I'm also noticing which. That we're having down here too, is that we are seeing a little bit more in our pre-foreclosure department. And of course, we are seeing the similar thing you were talking about as far as people passing away. We are seeing those things too. So we do have a lot of inventory, on our market down here. And I know that next year we'll have more because a lot of people have pulled their properties off and they have delisted for the winter time and the seasonal time as far as holidays, X, Y, and Z. And I know that these sellers will be listed next year because I've talked to some and they said that they would come next year, they would relist.
Okay. So what has driven the Atlanta market last few years? Why are people coming there? I mean, Atlanta, and I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
is it tech growth or construction or what's going on out there?
So yeah, so we definitely have seen, we have like major, I guess they're called what, 500 companies. I think that's what they call. I'm not sure, but like, you know, like Google, who else? We have like, of course, Delta is based in Atlanta. All those type of companies, Porsche, all several different companies are in Atlanta. We're getting more tech companies, Microsoft. We have, of course, a studio, several studios as far as entertainment now. So we're getting an influx of entertainers. We have Lionsgate has built in Douglas County, which is west of Atlanta. Like David Matney said, we have Coca-Cola down here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know, we have several things in the Metro Atlanta area. So we're getting a large influx. And of course, not only that, our airport is one of the, you know, busiest airports, you know, in the world, where it's
Okay.
a hub where a lot of flights kind of come into. And so we had a big surge of migration down to the Metro Atlanta area. It's starting to cool a little bit, but we're still seeing people coming in. And then in 2026, we have the FIFA World Cup coming.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have in 2028, I believe the Super Bowl is coming to Atlanta. So we have several different things happening. Like my dad said, Chick-fil-A is their headquarters is in Atlanta because they're an Atlanta-based company.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so we have a lot of top. That's what they call them, top 500 companies and different things.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
tech,
I see. Yeah.
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 So it's a lot going on down here, but of course, as we all know, as more and more people come into a certain area, it rises costs, right? So something that was cheap a couple years ago, where you could possibly buy a 5-bedroom house, 3,000 square feet, maybe for 250,000, is now 500, 600, 700,000 because
Yeah.
the influx of people. And we are getting a lot of people from California. We're
Yeah.
getting people from New York up north. We're getting Colorado people. So yeah, so we're seeing a lot. And then of course, like I said, the institutional investors that have just come into our market and just kind of gathered up a lot of those single family homes. So
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of private equity firms, hedge fund, like you were saying, a lot of homes. I mean, Atlanta is one of those major homes where a lot of owned by corporations, and they're dumping some of those.
yeah, and
Yeah.
because what most people don't realize is that during the financial, you know, crash in 2007, 8, 9 area, around that time, the housing crash per se, that a lot of those institutional investors, they came in to Atlanta's market and they bought a lot because the homes were cheaper, so they were swooping them up for 30,000,
Gee.
40,000, and then, you know, they waited out, of course, for us to regain some equity. And then they still had it in 2019, and then 2020 is like, wow, you get low interest rates now, so they're coming back in and they're buying again, swooping up again. And so they just kept amassing a lot of the single family homes down here, that now you have, like I said, some counties, Henry County, which is south of the Fulton County area in Atlanta, they own about 70% of investors, own about institutional investors, I should say, own about 70% of single family homes in that county just alone.
That's a huge number. Yeah.
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 So it's interesting. So I don't know. So I like, of course, like I always tell people, real estate is local, so every market is different, of course. So some markets will see growth, some markets might see a decline, you know, just because of what's going on in the market.
Yep.
So right here it says, of course, we talked about the mortgage rates, the pivotal factor. Mortgage rates remain linchpin of the housing market. Yoon, which is, of course, from National Association of Realtors, the economist that Lawrence Yoon has called them the magic bullet, and their direction in 2026 will be critical. If the Federal Reserve continues to ease rates beyond 2025, 2026, could see a stronger sales rebound and heightened price pressure. Conversely, if inflation surges or economic conditions shift, rates might plateau or increase, cooling buyer enthusiasm and tempering price growth. So what do you feel? I know we talked about the rates before, but what do you feel about him and this conversation, what Yoon said?
Yeah, I mean, like they say in real estate, interest rate is everything. As soon as it goes up, sales slow down. As soon as it goes down, the sales are going to surge. One thing, the buyers who are on the edge are waiting for the interest rate to drop. one thing they have to remember, and again, this is coming from NAR, they said that if their interest rate dropped to 5.5%,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good thing, and all the buyers are saying, wow, that's great, we can buy. But here's the dark side of that. Once the rate dropped to 5.5%, what NAR is saying, National Association of Realtors, is that there will be an additional 2 million buyers coming into the market just because of the affordability, because they could not afford at 6%. Now it's at 5.5%. You're going to see a whole influx of new buyers coming in. We're going to see multiple offers coming in because everybody's coming on the market and rates are low. And guess what happens when there's multiple offers? 2-3 months down the road, you're going to see a price jump.
Price increase.
So when the rates drop, my feeling is there'll be a window of 2 or 3 or 4 months to buy, and then the price will go up again. So I mean, that's my gut feeling. And that's what NAR said. That's what NAR said, you know.
Yeah. Which definitely makes sense. I'm like, I said, hopefully people will learn from the recent situation that happened, and hopefully everybody don't jump at one time. But we do know that there are people that have been waiting on the sidelines that do want to own, and so, you know, it'll probably end up causing, like NAR said, a possible bidding wars and prices maybe going up because so many people are waiting. They're anticipating. They want to jump in, but they're hesitating. The uncertainty, the mortgage rates, trying to figure out what's happening. You know, so it'll be very interesting. It says 3, the sales activity. Of course, again, we talked about the anticipation of that sales activity, the inventory. So in California, have you guys seen? Because of course they were talking about the shortage of inventory. So I know it's rising now, but are you guys currently in a like balanced market, still a seller's market, or possibly you're heading into that buyer's market?
Well, it's hard to say because, like you say, its market is local. I'm in Orange County, so I focus on Orange County.
Okay.
Yes, the inventory has gone up, but it hasn't gone up as much. So here's how we have to look at it. You know, it's like, here's an example. You know, if I buy one house and then I buy a second house, I have 100% increase. Oh my God, I doubled my inventory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100% increase. But if I have 5 houses and then I buy one more, that's only what, 20% increase or whatever. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to inventory, if you look at our norm, we're still way below our peak levels. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking national inventory. We're still down the normal levels. Mm-hmm. It is up from 2024. Inventory is up 2025. But if you compare it to 2019 or 2017 or 2020, we're still down.
Yeah.
So inventory is still low compared to normal market, but it's higher compared to 2024. But it's not significantly high where people can lowball and things. That's not happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, inventory is increasing. A lot of people are now, especially November, December, we've seen a lot of deal listings in November and December.
Okay.
Not only in Orange County, but in California, but even nationwide. So springtime, all these people are going to come back. So as realtors, we're going to be busy springtime.
Yes, that is the hope.
I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, Kevin, the People's Lender? He said, "Hello, gentlemen."
Yeah, hey, that's Terrence. Hey, Terrence, I know.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you coming on. And so we'll head. So Narada is kind of saying similar things. So we'll head over to where they said prices might see a dip. Like what areas might possibly see a dip? So they said there's 22 cities in the United States that might see a possible dip in home prices. Mm-hmm. And it says most of them, of course, are in the Southeast, the Sun Belt and everything. But it says most of the 22 cities where home prices are forecasted to drop next year are located in the Southeast and the West. For instance, 7 of the 8 largest cities in Florida are projected to see declines in home prices next year, with the sole exception of Miami, the report said. It says the Cape Coral, Fort Lauderdale metropolitan area is expected to see the nation's largest price decline next year, with homes dropping by 10.2%. Wow. The analyst says. It says that's followed by the Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida region with 8.9% decline. And then it says the cities with projected price drops include those where inventory has expanded, providing more choices for buyers, Kreml said. Some of those metropolitan areas may now also have lightened demand for buyers compared with the COVID era real estate boom, which was fueled by low mortgage rates and a shift to work at home policies. So let's see if they tell us the cities. Oh, maybe they didn't. They didn't tell us it. Okay, I thought they was going to tell us the cities, but I don't see them. Okay, so I guess right here is on this chart. These are the cities. Says 2026 home price forecast for 100 cities. And it says predicts the home prices next year will drop to 22 metros, most of which are in the South. So these are their. So if it's the deep green is showing that it'll drop this much, up to 10% or more, and then they're showing a negative as far as where they don't see much of a drop. If it's this auburn, this burgundy color. So of course, most of it is in the South, but we're also seeing some possible declines, which is interesting. Well, this says price growth, so maybe this is the price growth. Okay, so sorry.
It's the price growth. Yeah, it's the greens is where it's going up actually, right?
Yeah, so it's vice versa. Sorry, you guys. Right. So the green is where it's going up. We don't see price growth, and then the burgundy and that pinkish color is showing where you'll see the decline. So
yeah, Florida, Arizona, Northern California. I mean, yeah.
And it says Georgia,
Denver, Georgia is there. Where's Georgia?
Yeah, right here, Atlanta.
Oh, right there. Wow.
Negative 0.1. Denver. I've heard that Denver. Some of the prices are dropping in Denver. I've heard that.
Yeah, but one thing to keep in mind is these drops are significant. 10% is a big drop in this market. When if a house medium average is $400,000, if we're talking about a 10% drop, that's $40,000. In Florida, if a house is worth $800,000, you knock out 10%, that's $80,000. That's a big chunk.
That's a big chunk. And I know, as you know, year over year, when they're kind of comparing some of how as they're saying, like the price growth is still occurring in the housing market. But what I'm realizing down in the Georgia area is that most of that medium home price is more of those high price homes. So it's like there's more people, the people that got the money, they're buying houses that are more like that they want, like in their price range, that they want to be in certain areas. They have the money to be in certain areas. They want to be in certain school districts. They want to be in, and they're okay with paying $1 million plus for homes. So what it's doing is that our medium average keeps kind of getting pumped up, but in reality, it's more of those high price homes that are being sold for that medium.
Right.
So I'm like,
yep.
And then it says over here, so in California, it looks like you guys are actually going to see appreciation next year.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a whole lot. Bakersfield is not doing well. I'm not sure why it's there, but it's only 1.5% up. It's 4% growth. I saw a report that it's actually down right now, but 4.3 is good. But the number of home sales are down. Prices are up, but the sales are down. The number of home sales are down. That's Bay Area right there going up. San Jose.
Sacramento looks like.
Sacramento is dropping. Yeah, San Francisco is dropping. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think I watched something recently where they said it's actually a good time to buy in San Francisco because the prices are down. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I think the median average in Bay Area is like what, $2 million is a mean.
Oh,
the average home is like $2 million, and you don't get a whole lot.
Yeah, wow.
One of my somebody that I know just bought a house in San Jose.
Okay.
A 1,200 square feet, 6,000 square feet lot, built in 1960s. They pay 2.1.
Wow.
That's an average price. That's the going rate. 1,200 square feet, 30-year-old, 40-year-old house, 2.1. Wow. San Jose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's unbelievable. Wow. I'm like,
and then they put in $200,000 worth of work in there on top of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that and that's where it takes me back, I guess, swinging back around to like the younger generations as time goes on and that real estate appreciates. Are the Gen Zers, the alphas, will they be able to afford a home? I don't know.
Well, we were talking about that. A lot of people are saying that they're not going to be able to afford homes.
Mm-hmm.
But here's one thing that people don't talk about. A lot of people don't talk about it. At least we haven't seen in the media.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions we get a lot, or I've been getting a lot for the last 2 or 3 years, especially in Orange County, is, Mike, where do these people get the money?
Yeah.
Okay? I'll tell you what. I've sold about 4 homes this year. They're all millennials because there are people that I know, their kids. I've been in business 30 years now. So a lot of my friends have kids that are 30, 35-year-olds. My kids are 30, 35-year-olds. So on all of those 4, and 3 of them were ladies or single ladies.
Okay.
They bought. I just sold one 2 months ago. It was 720,000, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath condo,
Oh wow.
5-year-old condo. She put 25% down,
Wow.
almost $300,000. Guess what? Half the money came from mom.
Okay. Wow.
The other house I sold, half the money came from dad.
Okay.
So what's happening and why people will be able to buy the Gen Zs or Gen X is all the people like me. I'm a boomer, right? When we pass, our kids are going to get a lot of money. And they're saying that the boomers are sitting, the silver tsunami that's coming. You heard about that, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of inheritance money going to be pumped into the market in the next 10, 15 years. And we're talking trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe our kids cannot qualify to buy a house. They may not have the down payment to buy a house. But guess what? This boomer money is coming in. And that's why there's a lot of activity going on in Southern California and everywhere.
Okay.
There's a lot of boomer money. Even now it has started coming in, but nobody talks about it. There's trillions and trillions of dollars sitting with the silver tsunami.
Yeah.
In fact, in 10 years from now, there's going to be a surplus of homes for sale because all the boomers are going to be gone and there's going to be surplus of homes coming on the market. That's what I'm hearing. The report that I read on boomers and what's happening. 10 years from now, there's going to be a lot of inventory from the boomers.
From the boomers, and they'll be able to.
Yeah, they're going to be passing on and coming on the market.
Yeah.
And a lot of homes are going to be older. Like my house is about 40 years old.
Okay.
When I'm 80, whenever that is, it's going to be 60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
And when our kids get it, they don't want a 70-year-old home.
Yeah.
It's going to come on the market, So.
That's true. Good evening, my cousin Lang. Good evening, everyone. Stay safe and warm. I know it snowed up where she's at. It snowed.
Oh. Okay.
And then my realtor colleague, Lauren. Hey, Lauren, thanks for jumping on tonight. Appreciate you. And so now we'll kind of shift over to the area in which they're saying that they expect possible prices to kind of grow. And so Cremo again, so we'll go to the top where it says, these top housing markets will deliver better value than their pricey neighbors in 2026. So they're saying these markets, you'll probably see some type of price growth. And it says researchers at Realtor.com have identified 10 regional markets, almost all in the Northwest or the Midwest, that are projected to see robust growth driven by rising home sales, price gains, or both. And then we'll scroll down here. And it says these often overlooked markets attract buyers with stronger credit scores, higher down payments than many other metros, and they are home to older, more stable households with the median age in the 50s. It says across the top 10 U.S. metros, Hartford, Connecticut ranks at #1 market, slated to experience the nation's highest growth, or more than 17% in 2026, according to a new report from Realtor.com. So, and I've heard this, not particularly Hartford per se, but I know with Jackie and Jen Sylvester and them, I've heard that the prices are staying steady or they're growing. And I also know in those areas, just from what I've heard from them, because I'm not in those markets, but that it's not as much building going on, like new construction building. And with that being the case, is kind of creating a more of a tightened inventory levels, where you have less kind of coming to the market, I guess, or like less on the market for the buyers. So it's creating a higher price point as far as cost.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. It says this city is expected to see 7.6% jump in existing home sales and 9.5% rise in median sale price year over year, which is Hartford, Connecticut. It says Rochester, New York ranks second on the list with a projected growth of 15.5%, followed by Worcester, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Massachusetts at 15%, Toledo, Ohio at roughly 12%, and Providence, Rhode Island at 11.2%, rounding out the top 5. And then it says other value hubs posed to experience a boost in home sales and prices include Richmond, Virginia, the Rankin Soul southern entry. So that's the only one that came in that's south at 10.6% projected growth. Grand Rapids, Michigan at 10.6%. Milwaukee at 10.5%, and New Haven, Connecticut, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at 9.7%. So what do you think about that as far as those areas kind of possibly seeing a projection in price growth?
Well, I'm from California. Those places sound like a lot of snow and cold. I'm not going to move there. all those areas are snow and cold. I'm not going to go there, but hey, yeah, we mentioned earlier the Northeast is doing very well right now. All the sun belts. I think what happened was over the last 4 or 5 years, 5 years ago, a house in Houston or Austin was very cheap. Now it's very high. Florida, the 300,000 homes are now 400, 500. So all those have gotten higher and higher. And now they're coming down because a lot of inventory and a lot of new construction. So I think people who are migrating or want to move and looking for deals is going up there.
Yeah.
Or the Northeast, Of course, I wouldn't go there because that's all cold snow up there. But that's me personally. But hey, affordability is affordability. If I have to move, because if I had to, I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look at those 10, 15% increase. And those are home sales price increase. That's huge.
Yes, exactly.
And in Florida, it's 10, 15% down.
Exactly.
So again, you were talking about local. When you look at the averages, we're pretty much there. 10% drops versus 15% increases. We're looking at an overall increase in price next year.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
2 to 4%. So
exactly. I'm like, let's see what I got some. Lang said, "Welcome, Mr. Patel, to the show."
Oh, thank you. Yeah, normal Clark. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And then Lauren has a question. They have to drop if they're not selling, but I did read that sellers are actually still being stubborn, and a lot of homes are actually being taken off the market because sellers not getting what they want. Let me see what she said. I read the average home in San Fran is for, I guess you meant to say, started at 1 million. And I think we were kind of talking about that earlier as far as those, the home prices out in California are starting in the millions, which is
San Francisco, $1 million. You'll be lucky to find a fixer there for that price.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about this comment in regards to her saying that they have to drop if not selling, but I read that the sellers are actually still being stubborn. A lot of homes are actually being taken off the market.
I think that's very true. I mean, we talked about earlier, the sellers want the higher price and they're not selling. And that's why we're seeing a major delisting going on nationwide. So if a house, if the homes are selling for 400 and you're asking for 450, buyers are not paying that. Buyers are smart today. Buyers have all the data. You go to Zillow, you go to Redfin, you go to Realtor.com. They have all the data, what the home sold for down the street. These buyers are smart today. They're not like the buyers that were 10 years ago. They relied on agents. Today, and I'm sorry to say that, buyers have more data than what I can show them. They know about the schools. They know about the comps. We're there as agents today to negotiate and let them know about the disclosures and things like that. But buyers are very smart today, and they're not going to pay the price higher than they feel. So sellers can be stubborn, but the stubborn shows you why there's so many delistings going on nationwide. So, and I think if they really want to sell, and data is showing that all the 3% interest rate holders, sellers are now realizing that they have to pay the 5.5%, 6%. And I think that's why we're going to see a surge in sales next year, because all these stubborn sellers are going to put their homes next year, and we're going to see a surge in home sales, according to NAR, a 14% surge. So yeah, what you're saying, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because that's like you said too, as far as these sellers and like Lauren saying, like delisting and them being stubborn, is that when that happens next year and they do relist, like I said, I wonder which way it will drive the prices, because as we know, the supply and demand thing, if you have more, you have so much supply and not as many people out trying to get it, then you have to eventually kind of soften the prices, right? It's kind of going inverse from what we saw in the pandemic, where we had less supply, but we had so much demand that the prices were going up. So that's why I'm kind of curious of which way it'll go, with everybody thinking like, I'm just going to wait till next year. Because typically most people say the spring market is the time, or, prior to that spring hitting, you start to kind of get your house ready, put up on the market. Schools are getting out. You can shift if you have a family, X, Y, and Z. And so real estate, typically you kind of see like that surge during that spring market as far as buying. But as we saw the last couple of years, we didn't really see, well, I'm going to say in Georgia, we didn't really see much of a surge of buying. Right. And actually what's kind of funny happening down here now is that really we saw more of a surge in the fall, and like coming into the winter, like November, we actually saw better numbers as far as people buying and like home sales kind of pending. So it's going to be interesting what happens next year in regards to these people putting their house back up.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. One thing we have to keep in mind, and let's talk about those stubborn sellers we talked about, right?
Yeah.
It all boils down to one thing. You know when how a house sells, right?
Mhm.
If the seller's not motivated to sell, he's not going to sell. So
Mhm.
let's take these stubborn sellers. Let's take 20 of them, right? They were stubborn and they said, I want 450 for my house, even though I know that my neighbor sold for 400.
Mhm.
But they were thinking of moving because let's say the couple was 35-year-old and they want to move near dad because dad's not doing well,
Mhm.
right? Now, a year later, they realize, you know what? Dad needs me or need my help, mom and dad. I need to move over there. Plus, I get a better job near there. I
Mhm.
gotta sell now. So my motivation is increasing. So now when they come back on the market, if they're serious, they're gonna price it at 420. Maybe the market
Mhm.
went up.
Mhm.
450 was too high, but 400 was the comps. But now the comps are 420. And
Mhm.
if I'm a serious seller, motivated seller, I'm gonna not be stubborn and bring it down the price to 430. Then I
Mhm.
can sell so I can take care of mom and dad or go to my job relocation. So it also depends on the motivation. So I
Yep.
think a lot of the sellers may not have been motivated to sell. They said, hey, market's going up. I'm going to get a higher price. Let me see if I get 450, I'll sell it.
Yep.
But now they know that those days are gone,
Mhm.
especially if you're in the Sun Belt. Don't
Yeah. Yeah.
expect a price drop. So if I'm a seller and I'm in Cape Coral, like you said, it dropped for 15%, I
Mhm.
better sell this year because next year it may drop 20%.
Yeah.
So it boils down to motivation. And now I think we're going to see motivated sellers next year. Um,
Yeah.
the
And I
stubborn sellers turning into motivated sellers, hopefully.
yeah, I agree. Let's see what the guess. She said, I guess I started saving up for my 3 years old house now. um, so yeah, but I definitely agree in regards to what you were saying as far as those stubborn sellers. Um, and like I said again, at the end of the day, it's whatever you decide to do with your home, whether you selling or if you're buying a home. And what happens sometimes with homeowners is that they do have an attachment to their home, right? So they feel like their home is worth, a lot more than it might be according to what the market is bearing currently.
Mhm.
And then they, like you said, they also saw that somebody sold their house a year or two ago for X, Y, and Z. So now their house should be X, Y, and Z, even though we might have had a recent comp sell for lower than X, Y, and Z that's within that 3 to 6 month period. And
Right.
so as it becomes a hard thing to kind of adjust to mentally and to know that that price point that you ultimately wanted a couple years ago, but you didn't want to move at that time, that you want to get it now, and now it might be different later down the
Right.
road.
Yeah, everything's changing, and also depending where you move, your property tax rates, your insurance, and your HOAs are changing. For
Mhm.
example, in Florida, um, there's three factors for anybody to consider going to Florida. The homes are a lot cheaper, right? I've
Mhm.
heard instances where they're selling the condos for $100,000. But
Yes.
here's the catch: to go into that condo, number one, the HOA is very high,
Mhm.
property tax has gone up, insurance has gone up. But
Mhm.
guess what? You have to do to buy the condo. There are reassessment fees, because of that
Mhm.
disaster that happened. uh, and anything
Yeah.
over 3 stories, they reassess those condos. A lot of
Mhm.
these condos have $1 million worth of work.
Yeah.
If there's 20, 30 condos in there, the condo association is dumping those prices on these condo owners. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can buy that condo for $100,000, but you have to pay 50,000 assessment fee and fix up all those things. So there's a lot of factors going on. We're talking about motivation. These people are selling for $100,000 because they don't want to pay the reassessment fee, so they're dumping it to sell it.
Exactly, and that's what my colleague Lauren, who just had stated some stuff. We did recently. We did a webinar together, and one of the PowerPoint points in it was basically, what is your why? Like you said, what is the motivation? Why are you
Right.
wanting? Why do you want to sell? What's forcing you to sell? We always ask people. My colleague Lauren, and then also another colleague jumped on Key. Hey, what's going on, Key? We always ask people, why do you want to sell? Why do you want to buy? Just to understand what is the motivation, what's driving you, because you have to have some type of motivation to do
Mhm.
either or, right?
Right.
So Key said they're not realistic about the condition of their home. So yes, so in regards to some sellers, as far as being realistic about what their homes look like and what they're trying to get for
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Buyers are gonna check it out. They're gonna do inspection. They're gonna find out.
it. And like we kind of stated earlier, where you'll get some of these sellers where they will again try to think that their house is worth what a house across the street is worth that might have been fully renovated, and their house might not be renovated. And they might have some things, they might have the similarities as far as bedrooms and bathrooms, but they might not have the condition wise, the updates, the renovations that a buyer might buy and say, go to that house, like, oh, I'm gonna buy this house, and meanwhile your house is over here. You're like, well, why did I get anybody buying it? They want move-in ready. They don't want to go and they have to fix stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, but I definitely appreciate you joining me. I'm going to share your YouTube page as well. So people, if you haven't already, please go over, support Mike on his YouTube channel. It is the Home Savvy Seller or Central.
Central, right. Home Savvy Central. Yeah.
All right. Let me make sure I blow it up some so people can see it. Go over there and get a subscribe, subscription. And also go and view his different videos that he has on there. If you want to tell him a little bit about your channel before we kind of leave out of here.
Yeah, basically my channel focuses on homeowners and sellers specifically more than the buyers. But of course, I have a lot of information for buyers also. My channel is about 1.5 years old and is growing pretty well. Got a lot of comments and followers. So if you have any questions, go to my channel. You can always direct message me for any questions if you have about Southern California. So yeah, check it out.
David said, great thumbnails, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So so definitely head over to Mike's channel, give him a subscription, check out his videos, like, share, comment, please. We want to share all the knowledge that we can real estate wise. And I want to thank you again, Mike, for jumping on tonight. Again, Mike is in California. So if you guys are looking in the Orange County, the Anaheim Hills, close to Disneyland, right?
Yep.
Area, that he is someone to connect with in regards to selling or buying a home.
Yep. And thanks for inviting me. And thanks, David, for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I will see you guys next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we will talk again about what is happening in the housing market. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Have a wonderful Sunday night.
Thank you.